Hey guys, Chris here. Today we're taking a quick look at the cheapest electric car you can currently buy anywhere in the world. I think at least here in Norway, after a price reduction, this is now less than 200,000 kroners for a brand new electric car in 2023, which is just completely insane. That is less than $20,000 or less than 18,000 euros. So I have this car for a whole week. I'm going to do my range test, I'm going to do my long trip test, and then also, my full review and all of those videos. But before I did that, I just wanted to start my test week with a first impressions and just show you guys this car, because it's amazing that you can get a new electric car at this price in 2023. So the specific car we have here is a little bit more expensive than that 199,000 kroners starting price. This is a higher trim level with metallic paint. You have leather interior, Bose sound system, and also upgraded 17-inch alloys. But this car, delivered on the road with winter wheels here in Norway, is still 260,000 kroners, which is a little more than $25,000, a little bit more than 23,000 euros, which is just completely insane. That's delivered on the road, taxes and everything. And looking at it, well, I mean, the Nissan Leaf isn't the prettiest car. A lot of people may not like the look of it, but you can't deny that at this price point, it doesn't look like a cheap car. I mean, it looks kind of, nice, kind of premium with the chrome door handles. I really like these retro wheels. And overall, I mean, it's an okay looking car. It's not ugly, but it's not pretty either. I mean, it's completely neutral, but I do understand if you don't like the look of it. But I still think it looks better than the first generation Nissan Leaf, which hasn't aged very well. And this it's kind of nice with the blacked out areas and that gray paint color. It's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. I haven't charged this car yet. I think there's a charge port. Is it here somewhere? Yeah, well, I just picked up this car, so let's see if we can find out how you open it. Oh, you have a key here. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So on the key, there's a button here, and then it pops open like that. Okay, that's nice to know. So this being, the cheapest electric car on the market, you don't have a very big battery or any fast charging. So this is your AC charging port, and this is your CHAdeMO charging port. I think I've never ever used a CHAdeMO charging port before, so that's going to be very interesting. There's also a light here, which is really nice. So this whole thing is illuminated. But okay, it even has a 360 camera, this car. Look at that. We have a camera there for this price. I mean, for this price, it is an insane car. So I've, for the past week, had a Mercedes EQS SUV 580 4MATIC on loan, which is 1,924,000 kroners, 7.5 times the money of this car. And I have to say, as good as that Mercedes is, or as bad as this is, it's not 1/7.5 of the car. And that Mercedes is not 7.5 times more car. So that's what makes this even more impressive. So what I was saying is that you have a 39 kilowatt hour usable battery in this car, giving it a WLTP rated range of 285 kilometers, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 7.9 seconds, 150 horsepower on the front axle is where the electric motor sits, and a peak charging speed of 46 kilowatts, which is quite slow. It's going to be interesting to see if this is even able to go the full length of my motorway range testing route, which is more than 200 kilometers, and how it will fare on the long trip test. 10 to 80%, I think, is like 45, 46 minutes. So it's not the quickest, but considering it's a complete car for this price, that really doesn't matter. I mean, if you want a car with more range than this, you're going to pay a lot more money. So yeah, so let's take a look inside of this, because it's even more impressive on the inside. So you have keyless go, keyless entry, so you just have your key on your person, and then you press this button, which, if this was a Porsche or an Audi, that would be like 1,000, 1,500 euros option. So front doors, nothing too impressive. hard touch plastics there, but you do have this insert of this soft material, and then you have this stitched faux leather on the door, which isn't too bad. Hard touch plastics here, of course, but you do have a Bose sound system, which is completely fine. It's completely fine, especially at this price point. Leather seats with like microfiber inserts here on the sides, and these are also perforated. Yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for at this price point? This is pretty insane. So let's take a step inside. The steering wheel actually is pretty nice. I mean, leather isn't the highest quality, but it's fine. I mean, this is nicer than steering wheels in cars costing many times as much as this. And I also like the button layout. It's logical, it's simple, physical buttons. You have your audio and your screen controls from the left side, and then you have your adaptive cruise control. This is adaptive cruise control with auto steer at this price point. Infotainment system here also, not the best. I haven't used this much, I just picked up this car. And then you have your climate control down here with physical buttons. USB-C, USB-A ports, and also you have your button arrays of heated steering wheel, heated seats and stuff like that. I think you have your heated steering wheel on this side, and also auto steer on and off, and then you can also open that charge port here. So I really like, it's kind of like old school Japanese layout where you have all these physical buttons, but it's all very logically laid out. You have your gear selector here, which is kind of funky, and then you have your e-pedal, which is a true one pedal mode, unlike in the Nissan Ariya, which also has e-pedal. It's not full and true one pedal mode. It doesn't bring the car to a complete stop. It does that in this car. So I'm going to mount up the camera now. Let's take this car on a quick test drive, and I'll give you guys my first driving impressions of the Nissan Leaf for less than 200,000 kroners. Before I take you guys out on the road and tell you what this Nissan Leaf is like to drive, I just want to give a huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Elton, which is the most awesome charging app if you live in Norway, Sweden, Finland, or Denmark. One charging app, one map interface, one charging interface, and one payment method will let you charge at almost all charge point operators in any of these countries. So if you live in any of these countries and you drive an electric car, or you plan on coming here on holiday, renting an electric car and traveling around in any of these countries, this app will make your life so much easier. So if you are going to do any of those things, or if you live in any of these countries, I would highly recommend you guys to download the charging app from Elton in the description box down below. So with that out of the way, let's take this out on the road. And my first impressions is that you sit a little bit high, but you have good visibility, and it's a little bit of an awkward driving position. But remember guys, I daily a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo, which possibly has the best driving position of any car, not just electric cars, but any car. So this is a little bit awkward, but you do get used to it. I wish the steering wheel would come a little bit more back, and also I could lower the seat a little bit more. But with that being said, it's totally fine. You're gonna get used to it. And it was worse coming from a Porsche and then into this, but after having driven that EQS SUV for a week, this kind of similar driving position. I don't think that car either has the best driving position, but you also have an armrest here, which is kind of far way back. For me, it's fine, but if you have to sit a little bit closer, I think this is going to be an issue. But if you're taller, I think it's going to be even better. I wish this just had a little bit more, or any adjustability at all would be fine. But what's nice is that you can actually rest your arm here on top of the door sill, which is pretty decent. So I mean, it's an easy car to drive. The front cabin does feel spacious, and the materials in here are actually not bad. It's not bad. Some cheap plastics, but again, this car's price point is amazing. I'm surprised that not everything here is plastic. Just compare this to the pre-facelift Volkswagen ID.3. This is miles better, and it's not, well, maybe even not any worse than the current facelifted ID.3. I think that's a little bit better, a little bit nicer, and of course, being German, it's put together a little bit better. Switchgear is just a little bit nicer, but this is so much cheaper. I mean, this is not half the price, but it's about 65% of the price of a Volkswagen ID.3, which is spec'd. I mean, it's insane. And driving it, yeah, there's nothing that is obvious, that tells you like this is a cheap car because it drives like a normal car. Suspension is tuned on the softer side, but it's still, firm and controlled. I have no complaints about how this car drives. I just had this car into the city center of Oslo and back again, and being a compact size is a nice thing, but driving on bad roads in Oslo, and even on this road here, which is a road where I test the cars, where the asphalt is actually smooth, but there are undulations and bumps in the road that just upset a lot of cars, like that bump there. But this car is pretty well sorted. I think the engineers at Nissan has tuned the suspension, calibrated this really nicely. No complaints. And this is on traditional suspension, gas shocks and steel springs. So considering all of that, and just that it is actually decently sound insulated in here. I haven't taken this on a motorway yet. I haven't driven this at any high speeds, but from what I could tell from the suspension noise and just road noise and wind noise, I don't think this is more noisy than a Tesla Model 3 or a Polestar 2, which are some of the weakest cars, to be honest, in the sub 50K electric car market. Those two cars' probably biggest complaints is road noise, tire noise, and then the Tesla is ride quality, and this is substantially better than that. I mean, I'm impressed that you can get a functional car. We're gonna dive into all the details, in my actual review after I've driven this car for an extended time period, but like the controls is fine. The infotainment system looks kind of old and dated. Haven't used it too much, but I mean, for this price point, just buy an iPad, glue it to the dashboard is probably going to do a better job at navigation and media and stuff like that, or just live with this. I wouldn't do anything, maybe just a phone holder. Probably there's CarPlay here with a cable. I didn't find any wireless CarPlay, but it's still, yeah, I'm amazed. This is a car that, I can say this first day of testing, this is a car that a lot of people could buy. I mean, this is a car that could bring a lot of people into electric cars because, okay, it has limited range, 285 kilometers of WLTP rated range, probably going to be closer to 220, I mean like 130 miles, real world. But as a city car, occasionally you're going to take this on a long trip. This is plenty enough for a lot of people. Let's be real for a second. Can you really get any new car, period, anywhere in the West for less than $20,000 or 18,000 euros or 200,000 kroners now in 2023 with inflation we've had for the past year or two? I mean, can you get even like a combustion engine car? Can you get a petrol or a diesel? I'm not sure. And if you can, is it as nice as this to look at? Is it as nice as this to drive? Is it as big on the inside or as nice on the interior as this car from a reputable Japanese auto manufacturer? I'm honestly not sure. And the fact that this is all of that and electric just is mind-blowing. It's really, really impressive. And if you're watching this video and you're like, meh, just sit down and really think about how cheap this car is. And yes, maybe at that price point, you're not going to get a car you really want. But this car, I would buy this car if I was looking at something in this price point. Because I'm like, what else could I get? And it has a decent sound system. It has leather seats. It has, an okay exterior with cool alloy wheels. It has, auto steer. It has 360 camera. It's just amazing. This car, this whole car is about 10,000 euros less than just the optional equipment on my daily driver, my Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. And when I read about Nissan reducing the price from 230,000 kroners, which is a cheap price already, to less than 200,000 kroners, I'm like, I'm not really interested in this car. This car hasn't really interested me at all. I drove the first generation when it came out like in 2011, but I've never been interested in testing this vehicle. And I really wasn't interested other than, well, this can make like a fun series of videos, the cheapest electric car. And consider that I've owned a lot of expensive cars in the past few years, and call me snobby, call me whatever, but I love cars. I like my luxury cars, and this blows me away because this is genuinely a good car. It doesn't have the best range, it doesn't have the biggest battery or the fastest charging, but if you live in a city anywhere in the world and you're commuting less than 100 kilometers or 60 miles every day and you can charge this full wherever you live, if it's an apartment, if it's a house, or it's on street parking or at your job, this is kind of a hack, because just running this car is going to be so much cheaper than any diesel or electric car anywhere in the world. And you know, if you get, I don't know, a diesel or a petrol car at this price point, it's going to be a noisy car that's not that refined. This is fully electric. It's so silent and quiet, and yeah, it's just mind-blowing. So genuinely impressed with this car, and I actually can't wait now to do all of my tests. It's going to be interesting because it's going to probably not do very well, but at this price point, who cares? It's a completely different perspective than a lot of people have about, oh, electric cars are so expensive. This is a cheap one, a genuine working electric car that is cheap, actually cheap. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.